I'd like to begin by acknowledging members of the head table, the Honorable Charles Griffith, Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Mrs. Yolande Howard, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Mr. Neil Murrow, Director of Sports at the National Sports Council, Mrs. Sandra Osborne, President of the Barbados Olympic Association, and of course, our national athletes, Ms. Sade Williams, Ms. Amber Joseph, and Mr. Jonathan Jones. Let's give them a round of applause. I now invite Mrs. Sandra Osborne, President of the BOA, to deliver brief remarks. Ms. Osborne, you can do it from your station.
Yes, thank you very much. Madam Master of Ceremonies, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen of the media, friends, athletes, Honorable Minister, yes, Director. As the Commonwealth Games Association of Barbados, the Barbados Olympic Association is pleased to be associated with this event to celebrate the hard work, dedication, discipline, and indeed resilience of our athletes who have earned their place among the best in the world in their respective sports. We thank the government of Barbados for recognizing excellence. Sade, Shane, Jonathan, and Amber are all very well known to us and definitely deserve our congrats. We could not be more proud of their outstanding performances at the Commonwealth Games. The record-breaking gold medal and the silver and the bronze medal, as well as our 4th place in judo and the silver plate in squash. Our gold medal performances at the Pan American Track Championships was actually a perfect sequel, followed by other outstanding performances in squash and motoring at the global level. Nor can we forget our 6 silver medals at the recently concluded inaugural Caribbean Games. 5 silver, 2 each in swimming and track, and 1 in netball, and a further bronze in track. Of course, our bronze medalists in swimming at the first Junior Pan Am Games at the end of 2021 started this phenomenal momentum. Time, of course, does not permit me to name all these athletes, but I think it's fair to say that 2022 is going to stand out, especially in our sporting history. We at the BOA have big dreams that, like any other small country which has won medals at international games, Barbados can indeed win medals, and we have shown that it can be done. But elite athletes require access to resources necessary to perform optimally. Developing an elite athlete requires a significant investment in high-performance training in an environment of excellence based on current sports science principles. All this translates into time, resources, and most importantly, good competition and training facilities. And for us, as the umbrella body for the Olympic and Commonwealth sport movements in Barbados, with 39 affiliated national sport federations, an athletes commission, and very close ties to the Paralympic Association of Barbados, for us it is all about being athlete-centered. It is about working with our stakeholders to apply our resources prudently in the investment of athletes at all levels, from emerging to developing to high performance. In 2022, even although we have more than doubled our direct funding to athletes to 1.475 million, with the allocation weighted very heavily in favor of our top 12 Road to Paris 2024 athletes, we know we have improved their chances but we are still aware that it takes a lot more than this to produce medalists consistently. Note that this amount is just direct funding and excludes additional support for games, for qualifying competitions, and other development initiatives, and national federation support, which are all funded separately. Of course, none of this would be possible without the unwavering financial support we receive from Barbados Lotteries in particular. Many of the BOA directors who were around when the lottery was first started say without any fear of contradiction that the lottery was a game changer. The fact that we were able to invest over $20 million in the last 4-year Olympic cycle between Rio 2016 and Tokyo 2020 to support athletes and our affiliated national federations gives an indication of how critical the lottery revenue is to us and how grateful we are that we can make a difference as a result. So as we celebrate the achievement of these athletes, our call is to wider stakeholders, to the government, sponsors, and donors, to work with us to support our athletes' journey to Paris in the funding program we call Road to Paris 2024. This journey includes the Commonwealth Youth Games, the Central American and Caribbean Games, and the Pan Am Games in 2023, all stepping stones to Paris 2024. We believe we can do so much more as a country if we focus our collective effort on working together in support of these fine athletes, not just at the end, but at the beginning and throughout the journey. So congrats again to all our medalists and our team in general. And we really do admire your commitment to excellence. And generally, I would say that we are very satisfied with the progress of sport and consider that our athletes have done us proud. So with those few remarks, I'll just hand it back to you. Thank you very much. Much obliged.
Thank you, Mrs. Osborne, for those remarks. I invite the Honorable Charles Griffith, Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, to deliver remarks at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Standing on the protocols, blessings on us all. I am extremely pleased to be here this evening at this event. I came from the airport to the gymnasium and I saw Bajans on the road celebrating. I saw Bajans celebrating sport and excellence. Now, when these athletes, Shade, Jonathan, Amber, and Shane compete, I've often said that it is a case where it is a whole nation that is backing our athletes. Unfortunately, because of other commitments, Shane can't be here this evening, and we accept his apologies. Now, government is on a quest to ensure that all of our athletes, the ones who reach the level of the three that are here this evening, excel at a level where all of us will be proud, where they continue to hit podium. And I'm aware that there's a concern, a major concern about not seeing our stars on home soil perform. But I want to say this evening that the National Stadium is not a panacea for us to hit the podium. We need to buttress what we're doing as it relates to our coaching. We need to have a more focus as it relates to how we treat our athletes, yes, at the local level. And we are cognizant of that. Government is aware that we need to have a national stadium. I need to have a national stadium. Like I said, we need to see our athletes compete. Well, Amber, unfortunately, we do not have that track as yet for cycling, but we need to have them at that level. To this end, I took a paper to Cabinet last week and I got approval to have a consultant, so to speak, visit our country on the 23rd, the 21st of this month to look at the possibility of how soon we will have a national stadium here in Barbados again. We are also, again, engaging and looking to re-engage the Chinese to make sure that we cover all of our areas as it relates to having a stadium. But like I said, the stadium is not the cure-all for all of the issues that are related to training on the island. My ministry are doing several things to ensure that we can help and assist the athletes. I'm aware that we need to have athletes off the island to take care of additional training via scholarships. And to that end, Mr. Rowe, who's sitting here, is piloting a project that we will now own. And I've said this before, the SATs program. Because if you're asking a family that is struggling, and I will use that word in St. John, to pay between $450 to $600 to one or two individuals on the island to prepare them for SATs, then we're in trouble. So the ministry is taking the task or engaging in having an SAT program in place to facilitate that. We know that the stadium, the track is bad. Usain Bolt is also in need of repairs. So we have been proactive in the fact that if you look, I guess that is the eastern side of this building, you will see that we would have recently cleared an area to put a 400 track that will be used in lieu of the National Stadium until we have the National Stadium up and running. Now, we are working in partnership with the BOA to ensure, and you would have heard Ms. Osborne mention the dollars spent coming from the BOA in terms of getting our athletes at that level. But we too need to do what we have to do at the government level. So in short time, we will be looking to restructure the National Sports Council to make it fit for purpose. Because if we are the developmental organization that is the one that is to drive sports at grassroots level, then we need to look in a different direction as it relates to how we deliver our services. And shortly, that will happen in the sense that we will restructure in a way that we can impact or we can have the most impact at community level. From the time I took up this particular post, I would have mentioned that grassroots sports is important. We speak about the National Stadium, and I will go back there, but the Olympics, Commonwealth, World is not only about track. They're field events that we need to engage in, that we need to target in a similar way to how the Chinese would have done at Beijing. I think that we need to now be focused in terms of how we treat to our athletes and how we prepare. It cannot be a case where from Olympic to Olympic that we have a wish list. We must identify those disciplines and those athletes that I believe or we believe can hit podium and focus some attention in that particular direction. And if we do that, I believe the type of success that we're looking for, that we saw today in terms of how people treat to our three athletes that did that motorcade, that we will have that replicated time and time again. Now, I'm not sure that my PS will be able to do so many motorcades, but we will do what we have to do. So we're expecting that in 2023, if all things go according to plan, that you should see us breaking ground for a new stadium. Now that is if all goes according to plan. In relation to our athletes, I really want to congratulate you on what you did in terms of your position on podium. And you would have seen for yourself today the love that came from the streets as you came here from the airport. We can only do this if certain things are right on the landscape. And I will say it here, we need to have our coaches step up to the other level. The only way that we're gonna have world-class athletes is if we have world-class coaches. At the gymnasium, right here, we have just refurbished the gym to make it possible that the NFs, all of the NFs who want to have their particular discipline train up as it relates to working out in the gym, the facility is there. That was done this year to make sure that persons who need to engage in strength training and conditioning do not have to spend excessive money in preparation. Government would have taken this step, and through Sabrina Warwood, who spearheaded that particular initiative, there's a gym here that athletes can get involved and that they can come and train at no cost. So we're doing what is necessary. We're doing the things that We believe are proactive. My team at the ministry is fully engaged in this. They're constantly looking for opportunities. Last week, I had a meeting with Guelph University out of Canada with the understanding that hopefully by September next year, we can have some scholarships that are dedicated to athletes, to our student athletes. So everything is in place. It's just a matter now for us to find the diamonds in the rough and to shine them up to a level that we will be sitting here in the not too distant future celebrating athletes like the three that are here this evening. So I give you my solemn, solid promise that government is doing every single thing that is necessary at this time. And I've mentioned before that it is not a case that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, that we have our own cup. We are pouring from a single cup in government in Barbados. So when we have an opportunity to pour from the cup, we will. When we have initiatives that we believe are new and that can transform what is happening in athletics and sports, we will do that. Rest assured that we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for those remarks. We will now accept some questions from members of the media. I ask that you use the center of the room and state your name, full name, and the media house that you represent. Don't all go at the same time.
I'm Mark Goodrich, Boyce, Nation News. My question is for the minister. Will there be any incentives for Sade, Amber, and Jonathan in terms of money?
Only this morning we had discussions in relation to this. I had some discussions with my PS. I would not want now to posit anything in a definitive way. What I will say to you is that we will explore the possibility of doing exactly that, because we believe, and I believe, look, the reality is that in this country, a lot of people have watered down what it is to be a national athlete. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. We have national athletes that are overseas, and these athletes are playing in whatever profession, and they can't fully concentrate because they're concerned that when I get back home, my employer might probably fire me. So I'm saying that we need to do something about that. We need to treat our athletes at a level where recognition is really paramount on this island. One example today, again, if you wanted to see what I'm talking about, is the motorcade. We have recently approved the national sports policy. I believe that Parliament is on break for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, when we come back, it is expected that I will push that in Parliament, and it's expected that that sports policy would be our roadmap in relation to how we treat a whole set of disciplines on the island, right? So to get back to your question, we are looking at it to see how best that we can offer something that is tangible for our athletes who reach another level. And hopefully in the not too distant future, I'll be able to announce something if all goes according to plan. But that is in the pipeline for sure.
Paul Mayer Starcom. First question to the minister. I've heard you mention on a few occasions the reforming the National Sports Council. What are some of the major things that you would want to see changed in a reformed National Sports Council? Secondly, you mentioned the 400-meter track being put. Could you give us some timelines on that? And my third question will go to the athletes. There are mics there, so I assume that they'll be talking. What are your priorities? What are some of the things that are priorities for the athletes that you want to see coming from government, Olympic Association, and so on?
You want to answer first, Paul, me, because the question. All right. Look, restructuring, I'm not going to go into details because it is still, not to say it's in the pipeline. We have a paper that is ready that will soon go to cabinet. So I don't want to speak to that before I get cabinet approval for this paper. In relation to the track, we're hoping that by December, we should have this track finished. The track is already on island. The clearing of the area is there. We have to do the necessary testing, the necessary preparation to ensure that that is there. So I'm hoping that by the end of December, if all goes according to plan, that the new 400 track should be in place at the location. Yeah? Over to the office.
Hello. On my part, ooh, no, another. Um, in my time as being an athlete, the BOA have always been a huge part in my federation. Um, there isn't anything that I could really ask more. They've always given me support in every way that they possibly can, and even when I haven't performed the way that I have wanted to, and I've had a bad result that I think is a bad result, they've always reassured me that, you know, keep working hard, and they're so proud of me no matter what happens, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, I love the BOA.
I think being a collegiate athlete, increased funding would be always appreciated. And also the implementation of some kind of mental health uh, initiative or program to help athletes, because I know myself, I had this year was my most successful year as an athlete, but it was also the most I dived into like my mental health, seeing therapists, seeing sports psychologists before big competitions to help me to get over the nerves I would have and to be able to perform at my best. So not just for myself, but for the other athletes, the younger ones, and even the ones that might be next to me, because you never know what we're going through. So if we have that in place, it'll always help us.
Hi. I agree with both what Jonathan and Amber said. The BOA is always a help in terms of funding over the past couple of years, but um, I'll have to write a list of demands and get back to you.
Anyone else from the media has any questions? Of course you can, Amber.
My question is to the president of the Barbados Olympic Association. We know the BOA has been doing well in terms of giving funding. Is there anything more you guys will be doing?
I think that what we have done over the years is to try and revisit whatever we've done in any particular year with a view to seeing whether we can do better. And for example, we would have announced earlier this year, I believe, that we had started the Road to Paris 2024 program, for example. What that has done is to actually give 12 elite athletes much more than they would otherwise have had. So I think fundamentally where we are is that, it's an ongoing process. We are never satisfied that it's enough because we recognize that developing an elite athlete is a multifaceted exercise. Jonathan has touched on some of the areas that we tend not to pay a lot of attention to, and the whole idea behind our increased funding to this elite group is to try and give them an opportunity to access some of the non-traditional things in terms of what Barbadians perceive as what it takes to develop an athlete. So, I mentioned training, elite training based on sports science. And that involves, the whole gamut. I am no coach, so I obviously am not qualified to speak of the various elements. But the point is we recognize, even although we're not the experts, that there's a whole science out there in terms of how you develop sports people. And we want to try and play our part as best we can. So it's an ongoing exercise for us, as I said.
Any other questions from members of the media? More questions? All right. Thank you, members of the media. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending today's press conference where we celebrate our outstanding athletes at this year's Commonwealth and Pan Am Games. I want to thank those tuning in on CBC TV 8 and online, and have a great evening. I ask that the members of the head table be allowed to leave first, and just gather in the VIP foyer for some light refreshments. Feel free to use the VIP suites, Minister, if you want to host anybody.